Hi, introducing the Shoben Fashion Curve, the complete 12-function plus professional pattern design tool. It is the great aid for pattern cutters and graders working in a design studio in a fashion house or college. The Shoben Fashion Curve is made in a light, flexible material and is ideal for creating necklines, armholes, hip lines and all types of style lines. The Shoben Fashion Curve has a 50 centimetre scale, so like that. But a key feature is that there's a 0 point in the middle which creates a scale that reads 25 centimetres that way and 25 centimetres that way. This is quite essential for pattern cutting, as we often have to measure either side of a straight line. So for example, in the case of an armhole box or a side box, if I, for example, measure 5.5 that way and 5.5 that way, I can now draw a line 90 degrees like so, 90 degrees like so, and that becomes a side box. So now if I use the curves on the fashion curve, I can draw an armhole like this. That's the front armhole. Turn it round, and then I do the back armhole like this. Now, using the 90 degree lines on the curve, I can draw the end of the shoulder like that and the end of the front shoulder like so. And now I have a very lovely armhole just from the curves on the fashion curve. Another feature of the fashion curve is that we can draw 45 degree lines. So to get a pitch, I can lay this line onto a straight line and get a pitch. And for the other side, I can just flip it over and draw the pitch like this. So that gives me 45 degree lines. Now, another feature, or the many features on the curve, is if I want to draw another pitch, say for example there on the back, I can measure the distance between there and there by taking the scale, the unnumbered scale on the fashion curve, laying that on there, and then I can just walk it round. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6.1 measurement between there and there. Now, another feature is that I can add seam allowances to a straight line, which removes some of the drudge from pattern cutting, i.e. adding seam allowances. So all these parallel lines, they are graded from 0.5, 0.7, 1, 1.5, all the way up to 7 centimetres. So, for example, if I wanted to add a seam allowance to that straight line, I can just lay one of these, I'll choose the measurement, lay say 1.5 on there, like that, and then draw a seam allowance. If I want to say add 1 centimetre there, I can just lay that on and draw 1 centimetre. Now if I want to add a seam allowance to a curve line, I can take the gradations there and I can lay that on there like so, and that will give me 1 centimetre added onto that line. If I want to add it inside the line, then all I have to do is say 1 centimetre, 1 centimetre, make 2 points, flip this over, lay that on there, and I can draw that. So that shows you some of the features of the Shoben Fashion Curve. The Shoben Fashion Curve is a very fluent, flexible instrument, so let me show you some other ways it can be used. Draw a straight line, Now you might have noticed that you have those figures here. Well, that is a front neck. So if I take that and lay it onto the straight line like that, I can draw a front neck. Now a back neck is this line. So if I match that up there like that and get it all parallel with the many lines on the curve, I can now draw a back neck. So now you have a front and back neck. Now let's extend this to be a sleeve. So if I just draw a straight line like this, possibly make it slightly longer, like that, and then take a parallel line like this. Now, coming back to here, to the centre front, if I draw that, and there's the lovely subtle curves on here, I could do this, and then I can make a dart, and then I can draw that for the waist. Now, using the curves here, I can do that, and then here I can start to draw the under sleeve for a kimono. So now we've got a kimono shape. Then I can sleeve the armhole is around about 12.5, so I could do that, and that gives me a kimono shape. And then if I wish, I can start using the curves like that to give me another style line. I can put more style lines on like this, just to really show you how this works. The Shoben Fashion Curve, because of its length, enabled me as a designer of it to incorporate this lovely, very shallow curve, which is really good for the hip line. So I'll just show you how you can use that. So I will draw a straight line, like so. Then draw the waist, and then use a little curve like so. And then I'm going to do a dart, swing that round like so. Then I'm going to use that curve to draw the side of the waist. Now, if I turn it over, you can see how this line here becomes a really good gentle hip line. So if I do that, I've got the hip, and now I square across. This is not necessarily to scale, but it's just showing how it's used. So that's the front of a skirt. Now I'm going to just adapt that to be a trouser. So come down like that, square across, and use that curve there to get the through measurement of the trouser, and again use that lovely little curve like so to get the front of the trouser. Continue that down onwards for whatever length your trouser is to get your length of the trouser. Now if I want to convert that into, for example, some shorts, I can go like that, go like that, connect these two up, and then we have the start of a pair of shorts which we can Obviously make tighter if we want to. And then just to show you again the way that these curves can be used according to your creative ability. You could do that. You could do that. You could put a seam through like that. Oops, sorry. Seam through like that, and so on. And then we're going to make it flared. You can go like that, and so on. I'll draft a collar and revere to show you some of the other features of the Shoben Fashion Curve. So let's start with a straight line, and let's put on a front neck, like so. Now let's add on a button stand onto that centre front line. Let's flip it over, decide on the size of your button and add on a button stand. Now this feature here is the front of a man's jacket, the lower edge. So let's just lay that on there like that. Draw that round as the front of a man's jacket. And then we could add on the hem allowance like so. And that's the front of the jacket. Now let's do the collar and revere. So continue the shoulder line up. And let's say the collar stand is 2 centimeters. Let's work out where the center front break point is and draw a straight line like this. So that's going to become the break line. Now with this method, the lapel could be used like that to get the lapel, and then follow that round like so. Just count 1-2 centimeters there for the notch. Draw that line, and then use that curve, or any curve you choose really, to draw the collar as it is folded back. Now, a key feature of the Shoben Fashion Curve is the two-way scale reading that way and that way. Now, the reason why that is very good for here is I have to transfer this collar and lapel onto this side. One way is to fold the paper and use a tracing wheel, but by using the features of the Shoben Fashion Curve, if I take that straight line and just run it down there like so, then from there to the edge of there is 5 centimeters. So if I go 5 centimeters there, I could connect that point to that point, and that gives me a mirror image. And if I remember what line that was, like there, and fold it over, and I could do this, that gives me the outer edge. So I've now folded that over. Now this point needs to be on there. So again, if I move that along that straight line, that is 3.2. So that comes 3.2. That point is now there. If I go like this, that is 5. And that, draw that there. So that gives me that. And then the same, this point has to be over here. So if I now, that's 3.5, I come 3.5 there, and that would come there. Now I know this is a rather quick way of doing a collar revere, but if you look on one of my DVDs, you'll actually see a more, or one of the books, you'll find a much more detailed explanation. So like that, the back neck, like that, and connect that to there, and we have more or less the first stage of a collar and revere. and then you just have to work out where your buttons come. Just to finish the collar off and add what we term as spring to the collar, I'm just going to measure the back neck, which is 7.5, spin that round so it's 7.5 that way. Then I'm going to do a right angle line like so, measure the back of the collar, which is 5.5, add that to there, 5.5, draw a straight line like this, and then use the subtle curve there just to connect that up. So that this now here becomes the collar. Now to connect it to the gorge, which is a square gorge in this case, I come back 2 centimeters like that and connect those two. So now we have a fully functioning collar. So that is now the collar, and that is the lapel. For a fuller explanation, as I said before, either watch my video or read Pattern Cutting and Making Up for Outerwear Garments. The Shoben Fashion Rule is one of my favourite little instruments actually, and on it has 14 line button size, 17 line, 32 line, etc. up to 44 line. It's very, very important to know the size of your button, and you can use it to indicate on your draft where you want the button to go and what size the button is. So if you do that, and then just to show you could do a bigger button and so on. And these would be for coats. Now of course the Fashion Rule also has other little features, as do all my instruments. You can add seam allowances onto a straight line, and you can have a 45-degree line as well, like this. So it's very useful to indicate on your pattern exactly where the buttons are going to go, as I've done there.